This is the Week in Review for TheTrumpet.com, Friday, April 16th, 2010. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has offered to help the United States. The Iranian president wrote a letter on Tuesday saying he would cooperate with U.S. President Barack Obama. He said Iran is America's only chance to salvage Iraq and Afghanistan. Ahmadinejad said many new opportunities will be created for America's president if he accepts and cooperates with Tehran. The Iranian president has proffered cooperation before, but Stratfor notes that this is the first time he has telegraphed his view of how difficult the United States' position is. It is also the first time he has so directly offered Iran's help to extricate the U.S. from the region. Stratfor also notes that Ahmadinejad is pretty accurate in both his description and prescription. The biggest reason for this is that Iran is the major cause of American difficulties and casualties in the Middle East and South Asia. Tehran is the greatest state sponsor of terrorism in the world and can activate Islamist terrorists including Hezbollah, Hamas, Shiite insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan. In fact, in the same Tuesday speech, Ahmadinejad linked these groups with Iran's nuclear program. He indicated that if America does not allow Iran to develop nuclear technology, Iran could activate these resistance groups across the region. He added that America's policies in Palestine, Iraq, and Afghanistan have come to a dead end and that Obama has only one way to remain in power and be successful. This way is Iran. Israelis are solidly behind their prime minister. A recent poll shows that Israeli Jews support Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's opposition to President Obama's pressure, and that 83% oppose an imposed peace agreement and the division of Jerusalem. This is more evidence that the Arab Jew and now American impasse over Jerusalem will build until it explodes in violence. Germany is getting a better military. German Defense Minister Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg announced on Monday that he was changing the structure of the military to free up more of Germany's 247,000 soldiers for overseas missions. He spoke of the need for constant updates for German equipment and weaponry, particularly for troops in Afghanistan. After 3 German soldiers were killed 2 weeks ago, Guttenberg responded by promising up to 200 new armored vehicles to German troops in Afghanistan. In terms of policy, soldiers, and hardware, Guttenberg is changing Germany's military. Expect this stronger military to lend even greater weight to Europe's economic and political center of gravity, Berlin. Hungary held general elections on Sunday. The nation has been hit hard by economic woes and has asked for help from the International Monetary Fund. As a result, Hungarians are turning to nationalism. Hungary's center-right party won over half the seats up for election. Also, a far-right anti-Semitic party with links to the fascist-leaning Hungarian Guard won 17% of the vote. This result highlights a trend throughout Europe. Economic woes are causing a general shift to the right. Nationalism is becoming a successful political strategy, and countries are taking their cues from Germany. Berlin has been furthering nationalistic interests at the expense of European Union solidarity. Expect this trend to continue and to have a significant impact on Europe's future. The first ever proposed European Citizens Initiative is for enforced Sunday observance. A German member of the European Parliament is leading the crusade. Religious groups and European politicians, including MEP Martin Kostler, are demanding that Sunday be made a compulsory work-free day. In fact, 1/3 of Europe's MEPs have signed an appeal asking the European Commission to enforce work-free Sundays as part of an upcoming review of the European Working Time Directive. EU law already includes Sunday rest in the 1994 Protection of Young People at Work Directive. Although Kostler has only collected about 14,000 signatures and needs about 1 million more, the movement has the full support of the Vatican. Watch for the Pope and political allies to make Sunday observance law and to dictate even more specifics on how European citizens may and may not live their lives. The turmoil in Kyrgyzstan has opened a door for Russia. A coup last week put a new pro-Russian government in place. This Tuesday, Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said that it was Moscow's duty to assist Kyrgyzstan in its time of need. The next day, Russia's finance minister announced $50 million in loans and grants for the new government. Analysts strongly believe Russia played a significant role in the coup as it seeks to reclaim its former Soviet satellite states. Moscow certainly looks to turn the situation to its own advantage. Watch for what it may receive in return for these monetary gifts, perhaps the power to squeeze out American influence in strategic Central Asia. An earthquake struck China's Qinghai province on Wednesday. The 7.1 quake hit at 7:49 when many citizens were still at home and has produced aftershocks as strong as 6.3 magnitude. 700 people have been killed, 200 are missing, and 11,000 are injured. The number of earthquakes this year is not abnormal, but the number of deaths, approaching 250,000, towers above the yearly average. President Barack Obama rerouted America's space program on Thursday. During a visit to Florida's Kennedy Space Center, Obama announced that he will cut the Space Shuttle's successor program, Constellation. The Space Shuttle program is down to its last 4 missions, and Constellation was intended to put American astronauts back on the moon and prepare for a venture to Mars. Obama said he favors instead a longer-term and so far less specific plan. His plan involves a rocket that would eventually reach Mars's moons by the mid-2030s and continue to Mars thereafter. Though some astronauts have supported the idea, others, including the first and last men to walk on the moon, criticized it. The usually apolitical Neil Armstrong, along with Apollo 13 Commander Jim Lovell, spoke out strongly against the cancellation, saying it is short-sighted and will result in American space mediocrity, allowing China and Russia to become the premier powers in exploring and controlling space. And that is this week's Week in Review for TheTrumpet.com.